Good evening. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here to discuss the issue before us and talk about children in poverty. And again, I'm the county administrator for Logan County. Had the privilege of being hired by now Senator Kirkendall and working under him as a commissioner. And again, I'm involved in quite a few activities that are going on in the county. So I have a little broad brush stroke of all the things that are happening, from housing to food programs and a lot of different things. But again, as administrator, I am really cognizant of the home I was brought up in. And in fact, I was brought up in a faith-based home, and I have those beliefs that are part of the core values of who I am, but I also believe that everyone is made up of three parts: mind, spirit, and body. And addressing those, all three, is what makes a person whole. And our children are, the problem we have with our children is the fact that those all three are not being met. And as you all know, and how you all go about what your jobs are trying to meet those, but you know, first of all, a child's not going to learn if it's hungry. And we have a lot of programs that are going on to sustain that need to feed them so that they can learn. But the issue is, they go to school, a lot of times that's the only food they actually get, because their parents may be on some type of drugs, abusing them, and they're spending all their income for those, and the children are not being fed. So they get fed at school, but again, they're not properly nourished. So I think they're failing in the classroom in their education, because the physical side of man is not being met by the fact that they're hungry. The second part of that is, physically, they're not actually having the activities they need to stay healthy. And again, that brings about two parts of man, but the third is the spiritual side. Addressing the issues on the drugs, I think, has to be started, and we have started programs in demolition in Logan. We're looking at housing. Right now there's an assessment project getting ready to start to see what our current needs are, what our future needs are going to be for housing. And again, we have people in the county who are involved in programs that are already working on some of this. But again, those are areas that we feel like that we have to address, because we have children growing up in totally substandard housing. Again, that's the physical side not being addressed for them to have the right frame of mind to go out and learn the skills they need for a lifetime of being productive in society. So again, housing is a big issue for us. We're trying to address that. The other being drugs, we're trying to address that. You know, we're actually talking with some of the groups on faith-based recovery centers. I personally have been involved in, probably nobody in the room, maybe except for the senator, might know this, but I've been on a board in another county for a few months now, working on a recovery center, putting that together for them. But I'm there because I wanted to learn how to get one in Logan, one in Boone, one in Mingo, because those are extremely needed processes. Because as my job of paying bills, part of seeing day report and all those issues of trying to send people, I have to pay bills for someone to transport them to other parts of the state, because we don't have facilities in Logan or in the immediate area for them to go to. There is such a shortage and a waiting list for those facilities. So again, as an administrator and personally, I'm working on that, because I think those are the things we need. Because I think the biggest success rate in people curing or helping themselves get off of drugs is through the faith-based programs. Because again, faith-based programs are addressing your physical, mental, and spiritual needs. And I think those are the true healing processes of the person. So again, I appreciate you gentlemen being here. And again, the areas that I think you can help is helping us get the funding to do the recovery centers when we get all the proper things in place to do that, and also to help us in housing, to get better housing in all the communities that have these issues. So thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you for allowing me a chance, giving me a chance to speak. I work for a nonprofit faith-based organization that's housed in Kermit in Mingo County, and it's called Able Families, and they offer a lot of different programs. The program that I'm closely affiliated with, I'm the supervisor for the MyHow program, and MyHow stands for Maternal Infant Health Outreach Worker. And we're just moms serving moms in our community. And I myself was a teenage mother. I had my daughter 5 days before my senior year in high school, had a rough start with life, and lost both my parents at a young age. So I was sort of just out in the world, just trying to make it. And I was on the My How program myself, and now I'm the supervisor. This has happened over a 13 years span. So I was on the program through pregnancy until my child turned 3, and then a few years later, they called and offered me a job to serve some other moms in my community, and I grabbed a hold of the opportunity, and now I'm a supervisor over the program of 6 other girls that work under me. So also at Able Families, ABLE just stands for affirming, believing, and learning and empowering. And that's what we believe the whole organization stands on. It's faith-based. It's very family-friendly environment. You'll probably not find an evening that you come in there and there are not some kids running around. I have 3 kids of my own, so they're welcome to get off the bus there. And there's also an after-school program that kids get off the bus there, and it's usually between 25 and 30 kids, and they come there and they have dinner, and then they have an after-school coordinator who does 30 minutes of homework with the kids, and then they're also transported home on a kind of a small bus that we have. So, and then they also are trying to gear up the backpack program where they can send the kids home with nutritional snacks, because we know for sure that's the last meal those kids get when they leave our program. So I just know how well the My How program works because I've lived it. And now through Able Families, they are offering me the opportunity for them covering the cost of me going to get my degree myself. So I'll be starting school this fall. So I'm excited about that. But I just know what small organizations like Able Families, when it has support, what it can do for somebody's life. So the daughter that I had, we're starting school at the same time. She's starting college this month, and so am I. So I just want to say how much I believe. We also have a GED tutor that also does like college readiness classes, and they do computer classes. So it's just all education-based, our whole program is. So I just wanted to bring some light to a wonderful program that Mingo County offers. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Sarah Young, and I'm from Hen Lawson in Logan, West Virginia. And right now I stay at Crossroads Recovery Home in Gilbert, and I've been clean for 107 days. The child poverty, I have 2 kids of my own. They're 5 and 6, and they are with my mom and dad right now while I'm trying to get my life back together. And I was that mother who they would eat at school, and when they came home, I would let them run wild and play their video games because I was too busy getting high. And the substance abuse is a major factor in it, major. Like something has to be done in Logan. Absolutely, I'm so grateful to be in front of y'all today alive and be able to, just say that something has to be done. And where I'm at right now at Crossroads, that is absolutely the best place that I've ever been in my life. It's the 11th time I've been in treatment, and it's the first time that I don't care to be there. I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to have a bed there, and I know that now I don't have to live that way. I don't have to be a terrible mom, a terrible person. Just everything that I've went through, I really would, if I could just help one person just to understand that you do not have to live that way. I know I'm completely off the child poverty topic, but something has to be done. I mean, my kids are growing up where I grew up at, and it's just gotten worse and worse over the years. You can't walk down the street without seeing dirty needles laying on the ground. I mean, There's people selling dope, cooking dope. 3 houses down from my dad's, I was on the phone with him 2 hours ago, and there was about 10 state troopers down there. There was a helicopter flying. I could hear it when I was on the phone with him. And that's where my kids are, you know, and it terrifies me that I don't want them to grow up and be around what I was around. Something has to be done. It really does. And just for me to be standing here is a miracle. Like, you couldn't tell me 6 months ago that I would even be alive, let alone clean and happy and glad about it. But something has to be done.
My name is Brandon Dennis, and I live in Wayne, West Virginia. I was born and raised in the Huntington area, and after I finished graduate school, I moved back home to start a nonprofit organization, and just like everybody here, because I love my home so much. I just want to make a statement that I think programs do not hold the answer to our problems. Like, a new program is not going to fix our problems. Programs are good and helpful, and programs and government can serve as partners, but ultimately what will help our problems are people in relationships. And relationships, genuine human relationships, are what really make a long-term change for individuals. So kind of based on that premise, at Coalfield Development Corporation in the southern part of Wayne County, we've created a program we call the Quality Jobs Initiative. It's for young people ages 18 to 30 who have graduated their high school building construction program. Participants become full-time employees, and as full-time employees under our general contractor's license, the crew members tear down dilapidated housing, and then we don't demolish it, we deconstruct it, we take it apart piece by piece, then we resell, reuse, recycle those materials, and we actually make furniture out of the recycled material that we're tearing down out of these dilapidated homes. So we're taking a problem of dilapidated housing, we're trying to turn it into an opportunity. The crews also build new affordable housing units, so we're solving, we're addressing multiple problems at one time, addressing the affordability and the quality housing problem. We use what we call a 33, 6, and 3 model. So 33 hours a week, our crew members are working just like they would for any other general contracting business, doing the deconstruction and the construction. 6 hours a week, our crew members are in school at the community college, working on an applied science degree. And 6 of those 33 hours in the field count towards that degree as well. And then 3 hours a week, we're in what we call life skills, doing life skills classes like money management, time management, goal setting, parenting, things of that nature. So it is a full-time job. It does help address the housing challenges. But more than anything, it's based on this premise of relationship building and mentorship and just people supporting people. And it's just one at a time. It's just one person at a time. And it's a slow process, but it's a process that we've all got to engage in, because that's the only way that the long-term change happens, is one person at a time. So I think as we think about how to address poverty in West Virginia, it's not new programs so much as how do we just support relationships being built that can have a long-term impact. So thanks for the time.
Drugs are a part of that problem. And I don't know, I don't want to sit here and tell you that I know the answers. I don't. But I know that we got to put our heads together and figure out how we can bring opportunities to southern West Virginia. Our guys can build cars. Our guys can do anything else. We got flat mountains and we took the tops off every one of them. There's plenty of room up there to be able to put factories. There's plenty of room to put rehabilitation centers and things like that. And all I'm saying is that we really need you people to put your heads together and figure out what we can do. Because I'm going to tell you, if something isn't done within the next 5 years, the drug problem in Logan County is going to overtake us. And I'm telling you, that's a big reason why we have the poverty issues that we have. These children out here, when I take you up to Draper and I show you these kids playing in abandoned houses, and I show you kids not being able to walk 5 feet without having to step over a syringe with a needle on it, that's because of drugs. That's drugs, and these kids are poor. If it wasn't for the fact that we've got schools around here that step up to the plate to feed these kids during lunch, these kids would go hungry. Most of these kids, when they leave school on Friday, until they come back on Monday, they don't get a decent meal. That's it. We're in a serious situation. And I'll tell you, hey, love him or hate him, you can't go against his record. He's done wonderful things for Logan County. Senator Kirkendall has done wonderful things for Logan County, but he can't do it alone. We've got to step up to the plate and work together as a team to help him, but then we got to get everybody involved. So, everyone, that's all I got to say.
My comments will be really brief. I'm mostly here to listen, as all of you are. I want to thank Senator Stallings for letting me know about the meeting. I'm representing the School of Public Health at WVU. Many people are probably wondering what the connection is between poverty and public health. Senator Stallings mentioned, we know that there's a clear connection between poverty and income and health status. In public health, what we try to do is look for those connections, figure out how we can better address them in communities. I want to thank the senators for their support of the School of Public Health. It's been very important to us. And on behalf of all of the faculty, the students in the school, and the staff, I just want to offer whatever we can do to help address this issue, both here in Logan and throughout communities of West Virginia. We're here to try to lend our support and expertise, and I'm just privileged to be here and learn more about this important problem. So thank you.
I'm with Marlene and the Able Families. They have a great program, as she said, called My How, that I'm a part of. I've succeeded in so much because of the program and of Able Families. For example, I've smoked since the age of 13. I know all the health risks and everything, but I still didn't quit. My My How mom helped me overcome all of it, and I've been smoke-free for over a year now. Another major challenge was I quit school at the age of 16 and got pregnant with my first baby at 17. I have not having a diploma has always bothered me, and I did not drive either. I also have 3 children now. I thought I would never find the time or the transportation to get my GED, but thanks to Able Families and my How worker, I graduated July 12th with the top of the class scores. I now feel like I can truly tell my children that they can do anything if they put their minds to it. This program helped my self-esteem and my family so much. I feel I can give my kids a great, healthy life now.
I want to thank you so very much for being here. You are the people on top, at least in my eyes. And I want to ask you to be very patient with me today because it's late in the day. I have already been working very hard trying to help kids and families learn how to help themselves. And so my words don't always come out right. And I'll tell you why. I wasn't a single mom when I got here to Logan originally. I'm from Southern California. I love being here because I love the people here. Something happened and I became a single mom trying to help 4 children grow up in a positive way. Also, about 4 years ago, I had an accident that caused me to break my brain, but I was blessed to live in a place where people helped me get better in many, many ways. After that, actually, before that accident, I learned something that I know is true. I know every community in West Virginia is different, but I will tell you that I work as a children, I get to work still, which is a blessing from the people that employ me and were patient with me also. I learned before my accident that people, we're all different in a zillion ways, but we're similar in one basic ways. We have a brain that never stops thinking. We also have a place, a spiritual place where there is wisdom. Mental health actually says this. Every human being also has a consciousness. That's an awareness. It's like a line from our head and our personal thoughts to our wisdom. And I will tell you through personal experience that line is pretty straight when we are feeling good, when we are filled with more happiness and belief in the good in ourselves than not. But that line gets to feeling like it's 10 miles from here to our wisdom when we are overwhelmed with negative thoughts and feelings for whatever reason. And it's in that place, right here on the top, where our brain is already telling our body to fight or flee, to do something, to leave unhappiness and get back to happiness. And often, those aren't wise decisions. Now, I'm also wishing that we as adults could set a better example for our children. When I was hurt, I met with a doctor who said, if you could include 3 things in every day that you live, you would live a healthy, happy life as long as you were here. Number 1, a balance in nutrition. You are already helping our children with that. Number 2, movement. Mr. Atkins mentioned how important it is, even for our education system, to remember to let kids get out and move around and play and have fun. It's really a good idea to have a little bit of healthy fun on a regular basis. But the third thing was something he had to teach me about. He said quiet time. And this is something that I never learned from my parents or in school. I had to ask him, what's quiet time? And he said, that's at least an opportunity to practice on a daily basis, 10 to 15 minutes, where you keep your thoughts in just present time. Some deep breaths, some time to calm down before you act and see the good in you, the wisdom in you, and not just be overwhelmed with fear, which really is what's behind every negative decision that we make, every negative thought and feeling. My wish right now is that somehow this state can help our schools hire people that work like I work for mental health as children's liaison, able to have free consultation with somebody that can mention, I'm like a resource coordinator. I take the time to remind them that they are good people even when they make mistakes. Making mistakes is a normal human thing to do. And the second that I'm able to do that, all of a sudden they're able to hear the things that I have to offer them, which is a lot of love, basically. That's why I'm in Logan County, because I love the people here. And I am so grateful to all of the people that are here today, because I learned something, not only from you, I learned something every day for every person in this room. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
People who know me know I have a lot of different interests and that I do a lot of different work. Sitting back there thinking, do I really have anything to add or not? But what I want to say is, I think a segment of our population that gets overlooked and needs help the most are teenagers. And teenagers are children too, and teenagers are feared and reviled in our society. I work with teenagers in a lot of different ways. I'm the chief public defender of Mingo County, and I represent juveniles. I started a program about 10 years ago called On Track for College, where I am a volunteer coach to help kids get ready for the college application process. And when I first started working with teenagers, becoming the biggest part of my practice, I put a sign on the front of my juvenile file drawer that came out of my church bulletin, which reminds me that most historians think that Mary, the Mother of God, was 13 when she answered the angel and said, sure, I'll do it. And Joan of Arc was 13, we know for sure, when she started her fight against the English in France. And I just learned last week, listening to NPR, that Mahler, who wrote that wonderful dark music that was risk-taking, was 15 when he wrote his first masterpiece. So I just wanted to say that I think that we need to think about some programs for teenagers. I see kids every day who have plenty to offer and nothing to do, and people are afraid of teenagers because they take risks. They haven't learned yet to assess risk. But some of the risks they take, like Mary and Joan and Gustav Mahler, are wonderful risks. And I don't see a lot of programs in Mingo County, where I live, to grab onto that wonderful risk-taking. And I don't have a lot of different ideas to throw out to you outside of the education system, but I think it's something we need to start thinking about, because that's where we lose them, when we lose them. Thank you.
Follow up on what Teresa said. I've worked with kids in Mingo County. I'm an attorney, private attorney, and I've worked with kids in Mingo County who are in trouble for the last 35 years. And I recently was giving a talk in a seminar, and I asked Teresa if there was anything in particular that she wanted me to communicate to the lawyers that I would be talking to. And she said, yes, the one thing that came to her mind right away was that her clients, her juvenile clients, kept saying, I never get a chance to say anything. Nobody ever listens to me. I have nothing to do with what's happening to me when I get into the juvenile court. And that's very true. And what I tell lawyers is it's up to them to make sure that if a kid wants to speak, that he should have some input into the things that are happening to him that are going to change his life forever. And in the same way, I feel I think what's happened year after year when I've had any association with the legislature about suggestions of what we could do is I've seen over and over again when we have come up with suggestions about less restrictive and community-based programs for kids that are in trouble, somehow if there's any money, when it comes out the other end of the legislature, it's to build more restrictive buildings, more hardware secure. And what I argue is we're not, Mingo County is not, they're not the kids in Pittsburgh or New York or LA. They're the kids in Mingo County whose problem is so different. And it's not solved by locking them into highly structured hardware settings. I'm on the Workman Commission, so I had the opportunity to visit Salem a couple of times before it was, it wasn't closed down because we now have adults in there, but before all the kids were moved out of there. And I tell lawyers, if more of you would have come to visit Salem over the years, this would have happened a long time ago, because I was so surprised when I got up there to find that it was a penitentiary for kids, and in some ways more restrictive than the adult penitentiaries. And I talked to one kid who will stick with me forever. There are two ways you go into the juvenile justice system. One is you go in with a flat sentence, which means the judge says, till you're 18 or 21. Or you go into a phased program, which means you come in at phase 1, you work your way through that, and then you go on to phase 2, and you work your way through that. Then you probably mess up and go back to phase 1 again, and work your way up to 2 and on up to typically 4, at which time you are released from the facility. And I managed to go and talk to a boy who had been in solitary confinement for a number of weeks, which of course was illegal, as the class action brought out. And that meant he spent 1 hour a day outside of his concrete cell. And during that hour, he had to eat and take a shower and do whatever else he wanted to do during that time. His room consisted of concrete walls, a slab on the floor, a concrete slab on the floor with a foam rubber mattress about, I guess about 4 inches thick on top of it, and typically one blanket, a toilet and a sink. And that's what he did. He sat there all day long in that awful place. and his door had an opening about, I don't know, probably no more than 12 by 10 inches, half of which was covered with black paper. And the reason the black paper was there, it took me a long time to find out, was because they were signaling. The kids were hand signaling to each other to communicate, because they were so desperate to communicate, and this was to keep down the hand signaling. And I said to the kid, I was talking to him through the crack in the door. We had about that much window that we could look through. And I said to him, do you have any idea what phase you're on in your program now? And he said, 0, I guess. Well, there isn't any 0. I mean, you can't go below 1. But this kid had no clear idea of how he ended up there. He certainly had no idea how he was going to get out of there. And I think this is typical in the extreme of what Teresa was talking about. We got to listen to the kids. We got to pay attention to who these kids are. We got to build facilities, and for Southern West Virginia, that's community-based facilities. Those are the ones that are going to do something to help kids in the long run. Thank you very much for coming down here.
My name is Christiana Drummer, and I'm a junior at Logan High School. I'm here today to introduce our youth leadership group, BAPS, which stands for Believing All Is Possible. We've met with legislators at the state capitol and also in Washington, D.C. to talk about what we think can be done to make our life better for people in our county. On behalf of BAPS, thank you for giving us the chance to share our perspective with you. I'm also here to ask the committee what you plan to do to reduce the number of kids who are locked up in juvenile detention centers. I know of kids my age who didn't do anything wrong to anyone or anything, and they just need help to stay in school and stay out of trouble. The fact that African American young men and women are 5 times more likely than white men and women, young men and women, to be convicted raises big questions about the system. And I'd like to know your take on this. Thank you for your time.
We all know that teen pregnancy is a big problem in Logan, and I think that we're not doing enough to help young people prevent pregnancies they're not ready for. And we're also not doing enough to help teens and new moms have a healthy baby either. If we want to do something about child poverty, I think we should help young parents give their kids a really good start in life, especially if they're living in poverty. I'm curious what you think about investing in early childhood development programs, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay. My name is Sierra Campbell. I'm also a senior at Logan High School. And as a student at Logan High, I noticed that most of the teen moms that become pregnant, I feel like it's because they're uneducated, because at my school, there is not a sex education class taught. And I feel like maybe if these teens that are getting pregnant, if they had the proper education, that, you know, they would not have unprotected sex. Sorry. In California, due to a sex education class, their teen pregnancy rate dropped 60%. And in Logan County, if we had a sex education class, because it's so common down here that these teens are getting pregnant, in the school, it's like they're not even paying attention to it, because, you know, 1 or 2 students getting pregnant in a school, that's not bad, but when you have 6 or 7 students getting pregnant in the 10th grade, you know it's an issue, and there's something that needs to be done. And a sex education class would just be very helpful to these students. And I just want to thank you guys for letting me have this time to speak.
I don't know why I said no on the paper, but no. But anyways, I'm Pete Browning. I help, me along with Sherry Comback here, we teach an addiction recovery class called Celebrate Recovery at New Day Family Worship Center right here at Monaville. And I see firsthand a lot of the child poverty is due to addiction. At any given week, we might have 30, 40 people show up. Sometimes half of our class is parolees and guys on probation and women from recovery home. And I mean, we're seeing firsthand what addiction is doing. We have former cheerleaders, former athletes. We have mothers and fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers in our class. Addiction has affected everyone. And so we do things like we encourage that facilities definitely come into this area. We're meeting with Tim Robinson that created Karen's Place, Chad's Hope in Manchester. These are faith-based facilities. The instructors there are now mentors because they are recovered addicts. That is the most effective way to overcome addiction, is having the mentors being recovering addicts. The administrators in these facilities are recovering addicts. We provide meals for these people that come to class. We're lacking in transportation now. We have people wanting to come from Chapmanville and Man area. There's a great need in this area. The people that's coming to the classes, the faith-based classes, are coming out and they have a great testimony that this is helping them in their lives. I can stand here now and tell you that faith-based recovery is the #1 weapon against addiction. I also went to prison for 14 months because of addiction. I sat, while I was in there, already have been a Christian when I went to prison. I determined from the day one that I would get in the Word of God. What I didn't know is my life would be totally transformed, like the Word says, by renewing my mind through the Word of God. Sitting in those extensive drug classes that the state offers in the facilities. Some of them are 12 months long. Talking to the gentlemen that have went through these programs that have been through them 5 or 6 times. That told me that there is a great need in this state and in this country for something other than non-faith addiction classes and counseling. And that when I got out of prison, I'm dedicating my life to making a difference on addiction. A large percentage of the children that are suffering in poverty, they have a parent or both parents in prison. We have one young man that comes to our class. He calls me this week, he said, "Praise, and my wife just got out of prison." He's a parolee. He just got out of prison here a while back. Now his wife has finally got it. So he has children that have had no parents. They've been raised by their grandparents. It is crucial that we support these facilities that's coming. We have guys that have started sober living facilities in Huntington. They're coming. We're going to meet with them. And on the 30th, my wife and I are going to meet Tim Robinson in Louisa. He's just setting stuff all over Kentucky. Kentucky has something that West Virginia doesn't have. And that's why I decided to get up and speak to you guys. I mentioned it to the other gentleman earlier. They have a voucher program in Kentucky. People that doesn't have insurance, that want treatment, they get turned away because they don't have any insurance. They have a voucher system that pays for their stays during their recovery treatment. That is the main reason I want to get up here and speak. We have to support these faith-based facilities. I'm telling you, when we use Jesus Christ as the main curriculum, whether you like it or not, there will be deliverance from addiction. It's not these classes that you're always going to be an addict, so you got to deal with that every day of your life and that negative input. We give them an input that you're not always going to be an addict, that you can overcome addiction through the Word of God, and this is the facilities that we need to support. The retention rate is great in Celebrate Recovery. AA and NA, 4 out of 5 are failing miserably. In this class, it's way up there, over 80% success rate in this class. In the faith-based facilities, we need those. We need faith-based classes. We need more of our churches to step up and start having faith-based classes. But thank you, Gemma.
My name is Jessica Grubb.
Jessica
I'm also
what?
Grubb, G-R-U-B-B.
Okay.
I'm also at the Crossroads Recovery Home. I've been clean a little over 7 months now. And I feel like this keeps coming back to addiction and substance abuse, and I think that in itself kind of shows you how closely poverty and substance abuse are intertwined. You can't get the two away from each other. And I feel like there's a lot of law enforcement, like people busting pill mills and pill-pushing doctors and patting themselves on the back, and then wondering why the problem doesn't go away, because there's not a focus on recovery. So mothers and fathers who were, you know, taking Oxycontins, all of a sudden they can't get their supply, they're going on to shoot heroin. And this is something, it's happening in Florida, where heroin is coming back like way a lot, and it's going to keep happening without an emphasis on, you know, secular or non-recovery. Anything that, we need more recovery homes, we need more of a focus on what's going to happen afterwards. Because it's not just something that goes away when you take the drugs away. The problem still exists, and it's a vicious cycle, and it's going to keep happening without, I don't know, more treatment, more everything, you know? So, especially in Mingo County, it's more. I guess that's all. Okay.
Say a couple of words to the committee. Number one, to say thank you for your work. You've undertaken a great endeavor, and it's refreshing to me to see our legislators working to address an issue that is so pervasive in our county. The rest of what I would like to say is to the people here. This is a great opportunity that we've all been given to come together. We, in my opinion, here in Logan County, and I'm sure it's probably the same throughout the southern coal fields, we have gotten to the point to where organizations, groups, churches, organizations such as mine has gotten into the habit of working out of silos. This is what we do, this is what we've done for years, and this is what we're going to continue to do. When we're addressing an issue as large and as great as child poverty, those walls and those barriers have to come down, because it's going to take a collaborative effort for us to be able to make a difference and make an effective impact. So I want to encourage everyone to not let this be a big bang type of thing, but let's continue to work together to break down those barriers. And we need to start looking at ourselves in terms of assets and not deficiencies. Let's stop looking at what we don't have and looking for people to come and give us that. Well, let's look at what we do have and look at what our assets are and what each person or organization can bring to the table to contribute to address this poverty, or to address this issue of child poverty.
To thank the Select Committee on coming to Southern West Virginia. I don't think that I can say anything more than what Reggie just said, to echo what he confirmed just a few minutes ago, that we have to remove the barriers. It's not anything that one individual group can do to change the mindset of generational poverty, but it is definitely something that we can all work toward remediating as we move forward. And right now is the perfect opportunity for us to start address breaking the first chain of that vicious cycle, from what Attorney Moran said to Teresa McCune, to the people that have testified and provided witness this evening, from the Major with the situations that he discussed, to Crossroads Recovery. It's going to take all of these efforts, and again through Able Families, but again, and one of the missions that I read about the Select Committee is providing a different avenue of budget sources to help conquer this plight that we face throughout West Virginia. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming to our area, and Senator Kirkendall for hosting the event this evening. So thank you again.
Thank you, Randy.